whatever path you are on, whatever inspired you to come here today, we honor you and we welcome you. And now, our message.
I really only get to be up here when Lyle and Allie are gone, so this is an extra big pleasure for me. And today, I really want to make absolutely the most use of our time together and have today's talk be a lot about practical things that you can do to help bring that sense of spirit up into your conscious reality and awareness and live more with that sense of spirit with you as well. It was amazing, Mark. Your invocation was so perfect. I told Mark the title of my topic, and what he shared was just perfect. In fact, I'd love to end with that as well, because we're going to be moving in that direction during the course of the talk, and it was just so special. We are taught in all religions that we are triune beings, that we are body, mind, and spirit. And, you know, there isn't a religion that disputes that. There isn't a psychology or a health practice that would dispute that. We're also always taught that the one thing you can count on is change. That life is constantly about change. And, you know, if you look at your body and remember what your body looked like 10 years ago if you're really young, or 30 or 40 years ago if you're older, you can recognize the change. The change is just so dramatic. It's omnipresent. It's just always with us. It's change and change and change. And then if you look at your mind, you can recognize that there's massive change going on as well, isn't there? Think of how much more you know than just 7 or 8 years ago. And it's absolutely profound. You know, every single day we're learning, we're growing, we're evolving. In fact, in normal memory loss as we age, psychologists and psychiatrists are discovering that some memory loss is normal. We're not talking about dementia and Alzheimer's, but we're talking about, you know, just it's a little bit longer to recall someone's name or what you ate for breakfast 3 days ago or what movie you saw last week. And they're discovering that the reason that it's harder to recall that in normal aging is because we have so much more information in there that it takes the brain a little bit longer to sort and shift through all of it to find that bit of information for you. It's all change. We're growing, we're evolving, we're aging, we're changing. But there's this part of us that never changes, isn't there? There's this part of you where if you close your eyes, you could be absolutely any age. It's that ageless, senseless, that unchanging spiritual side of ourselves. And one of the things that I would like to challenge us to thinking about today, and really, if I spent a lot of time like researching and thinking and trying to fine-tune what it is I want to say today, and I really want us to walk away today with one little bit of information. And that's that this spiritual aspect of ourselves, which is in every single one of us, never changes. And it's always there for us. How many of you find yourself sometimes in situations where you're sad, depressed, angry, frustrated? Raise your hand if those situations come over you. I've got 2-handers and 1-handers, but everybody's a hander of one or the other. You know, I yesterday, for the first time in so long, just kind of felt some sadness in me, and just kind of this empty sadness. And then I realized that I don't need to cling on to that feeling. If I turn my mind to spirit, if I turn my mind to the incredibleness of this experience of being a spiritual being, having an earthly experience, that the depression just absolutely lifts and my happiness soars. I just live in this state of ecstasy when I realize that I'm a spiritual being having this earthly amazing experience. Because when that happens, everything is amazing, isn't it? When you think about being here on earth and the magnificence that we're surrounded by and the joyfulness of stuff. Let's say you get angry with your electronics. You know how that can like really make us mad? Well, this is a very physical thing, isn't it? It's a thing of manifest form. We consider it body. If you can like allow yourself to slip away from the anger and the frustration with the physical, you know, the plumpness, the mechanical, the bad hair day, the all of that, and focus on the true nature of who you are and the blessing that living this life is, I guarantee you that you will have an instantaneous change in the way that you view your world and in the joy that you feel in your heart. I'm a cognitive therapist by training and have my doctorate in counseling and religious studies, and I'm a social worker, and just never saw a career I didn't want to do, so I've got lots of things behind me that I've done. And one of the things that I am always amazed by is that researchers are finding that our moods are created by our thinking, by our mind. Okay, so our body changes, it ages, it gets thin, it gets fat, it gets wrinkled, it gets it gets clothes on, it gets naked. Our body is just like in this constant flux of what's going on. Our mind is changing by every single thought that we have. And in fact, researchers have found that when you change your thought, your mood changes. And it doesn't change in hours, weeks, or months. It changes in what scientists have measured as milliseconds. You can literally start lifting your mood by changing your thinking that quickly. And I am going to put forth this idea today that as we turn our thinking to spirit, we can change our mood faster than in any other way. Faster than in any other way. There are several people, actually we have people in every decade in this room with us today. So I know we all understand aging at some level. And I was having a conversation with a 20-something in here a little while ago about how fast time goes by. How many of you would agree that time goes by fast? Yes. You know, I think about that often. I just celebrated my 60th birthday, and it was like, whoa, where'd that come from? How'd that happen so fast? I just graduated from high school. I did. It's like, what happened? But you know, what I discovered when I had that thought was that as we are eternal beings, eternal spirit, here for this joyride, for this amount of time that we have on earth, which is so darn fast. As my mom said to me at 88, a very short period of time before she died, she said, even if you live a very long life, it's very fast. And I thought that that was so profound. You know, it just struck me when she said it. There's great truth in that, isn't there? You know, and so I was trying to figure out how can 60 years feel like a minute, you know? But if you compare a 100-year lifetime to eternity, and we can't even begin to stretch our arms out to embrace what eternity could ever be, because eternity is so enormous, our minds can't even wrap around it. The amazing thing is, if you look at, let's say we're all going to live to be 100, that's not even a sneeze in eternity, is it? It's just like, it's just a blip, it's just a thought, it's just a whim, it's just a leaf falling off a tree. And that's why life feels so fast. A, because it is, but B, because being eternal spiritual beings, we have this incredible short little snippet here, and then we go on to the next, and go on to the next. And who knows what that is? I wish we did know, but we can really focus today on what we do know. There's a lot of really wonderful researchers who are thinking a lot about spirit and a lot about aging. And the two really start interweaving in my mind as I'm thinking about this too, because I think that the older we get, the more we think about spiritual things. You know, it's probably because we look in the mirror and we don't want to think about that anymore. You know, so we're looking for something that we can like grasp onto and make sense with and experience. And it's that changeless essence. How many of you, for example, have seen a friend, bumped into a friend that you have not seen for years. Maybe you haven't even seen them for decades. And they've changed so much, you don't really recognize them. But when they talk to you for a few minutes, you kind of catch that essence of who they are, and the whole memory of everything comes back. Raise your hand if you've had that experience. It's a universal experience, isn't it? That essence of us, that changeless spirit, is what I really want us to focus on today. And I'd like us to talk about it in regards to things that we can do to make it really healthy. We know for our bodies we need exercise, water, healthy food, rest and relaxation. We know for our minds we need stimulation, we need healthy thinking, that we need a life that's alive and active. But what is it that we need for spirit? How can we make our spirit be as alive for us as our own body is? As tangible for us, that it's just like touching your arm. You know, and so I'd like to share some ideas from very wise people on ideas of things that you can do to really bring your spiritual essence fully into life and into being. Andrew Weil, how many of you are familiar with him? He's a physician in the Arizona area who is actually quite spiritual. He's a holistic practitioner and just a really huge advocate for health and for living a balanced life. And he has an 8-step program that you can follow to help bring that spiritual essence more alive in your conscious life. The first thing that he says is to connect with nature. How many of you have found ways that you can connect with nature that just make you sing inside, just bring you into bliss? Yeah. Yell out what some of those things are.
Gardening.
Gardening. Hiking.
Hugging a tree.
Hugging a tree.
Skiing.
Skiing. What a perfect place we live in for so much of this. For the little bit less physically inclined, even sitting on your porch and watching the snow on the mountains or the trees on the top of the mountains or watching birds fly by or watching the shapes in clouds, all of that brings us so much closer to that timeless, wonderful sense of just awe. I think that when we're in touch with our spiritual self, we're in awe. We're in ecstasy. We're in love. You know, there's nothing about depression, despair, meaninglessness, frustration, or anything when you are with Spirit. When you're with Spirit, you are with the One. You are connected. You're in awe. And these opportunities are available for us every single day. And as I go through the list, think about it. How much time each day do you spend doing these things versus work, cleaning, chores, you know, taking care of physical things? Physical things. And physical things need to be taken care of, but we need to give equal time to Spirit. Equal time to who we really are. To who we really are. So he says connect with nature. You can do it by walking or just by sitting in a natural setting. He said just sitting on a bench will do just fine. Allow yourself to slow down. Drop your usual routine. Absorb the influence of nature. I love number 2. Andrew Weil says to make a list of the people that you feel happy with. Make a list of all those people and then make a commitment to get together with them as often as possible. Why do you think he suggests that? What do you think is in that?
The vibe.
The vibe. The vibe. The energy.
You're getting connected again.
You're getting connected again. The odds are
It lifts your spirit.
And it lifts your spirit. And our spirits need to be lifted, don't they? Because this is where spirit exists. This is where bad mood exists, okay? And this is where our workaday lives. But spirit, God, universal energy, the oneness, it's lifted. And we can lift ourselves there through doing these things. The people that bring you a sense of awe and a sense of joy and a sense of love and bliss when you're with them, those are the people who are your spiritual mentors. They're in your oneness with you, in that zone. We're all in this together. We're all connected. But there's certain people that will just help lift you. And you need to be with those people as much as possible. Another one he says is to bring flowers in your home and enjoy the beauty of nature inside your home every single day. How many of you feel lifted by flowers? Not only do I have arms and multiples of arms up, I have feet and legs up in the air too. Thank you, guys. So, being surrounded by beauty, listen to music that you find inspirational and uplifting. Admire art that raises your spirits, whether it's a painting, sculpture, architecture, a bridge. I mean, I've literally seen bridges that inspire me and make me happy. My husband and I went on Route 80, which is from San Diego to Tybee Island, Georgia, and drove slowly the whole way, and went and looked for old architecture, and especially old bridges and the old parts of the road. Those old bridges were exquisite, fallen into decay with trees growing through them, and you know, flowers just growing in the dirt on the road, and it was just like, oh my gosh, it was the most beautiful, inspiring thing to see. Things don't have to be pristine and perfect. Even decay can be beautiful when you look at it and love it and recognize what a pleasure it is to be part of life. Reach out and try to resume connection with someone with whom you're estranged. Practice forgiveness and practice finding peace. And at this point, I wanted to remind myself that we're going to be having a forgiveness seminar. Mark, can I have you pass these out? Just one to each person. Cliff Edwards is going to be here again this month later. He's doing a seminar. It's $20 at the door, or get this one, it's free. I love that cost, free, if you register in advance. And there's a telephone number there that you can call. Let me have one of those, Mark, so I can. You can call Risha, and her phone number is on here. And if you call Risha, she can sign you up, and there's no cost for the class, which is really awesome. He is going to be talking about the LDS Church, but it's not just that. That's like a little tiny piece of it. The bulk of it is forgiving. The bulk of it is finding bliss and joy in your relationships and in being connected. So forgiveness. What has happened? Is there somebody who's done some forgiveness work and has found something that's happened that's really lifted you?
It allows you to move on.
Yes. It allows you to move on. When we forgive someone, it's not about them. It's not about them. When we forgive someone, it's a present, a huge present for us. For us. So even though this flyer mentions the Mormon Church, if you're not LDS, please go anyway, because I think that you will find tremendous, like it's the same for everything, isn't it? I mean, to forgive one experience is the same tips and tools to forgive another. And share the flyer with a friend, too, and bring some friends along. Forgiveness is probably the fastest way that we can lift our spirit from that sense of depression or just stagnation to a sense of joy. Imagine loving everyone, feeling connected, being in that state of forgiveness all the time. So that's a very important aspect. There's also going to be some information on the back table about an all-day class that will be coming up that you can take as well. Do some sort of service work. Andrew Weil says, give some of your time and energy to help others. The possibilities are endless, but they do not include writing a check. They include serving. And why do you think he would say it's not about writing a check, but it's about serving? What happens when we serve? How have you felt?
Happy.
Happy, healthy, alive. Yeah.
After I started Well, around here, I feel more connected.
Yes, connected. The fastest way to get connected, isn't it? You know, and it doesn't matter where you serve, any cause that makes your heart sing, whether,
Makes your heart open.
Yes.
Light.
Yes, it makes your heart open and light. So you find the experience that makes your heart open and light, and you give of yourself there. I personally have 2 organizations that I will volunteer full on for. And I, you know, it's not like I say yes, yes, yes to everything that happens in the world, because I have to save time for me and taking care of my body and my stuff and everything. But my 2 organizations, and that can always be a changing, evolving thing too. But I always make sure that I'm in a state of volunteering, a state of giving. And also make sure that the work that you do, that the paid work that you do, makes your heart sing, opens your heart. There's so many things we can do. Yes?
My heart is telling you, this is the way I want to go.
Yes.
Free.
Yes. I love that. And I'm repeating the things you say so we can get it recorded too. So your heart is telling you, this is the way you should go. This is freedom. This is free. And you know, whenever I think about what I want, and I think I've been doing this in different seminars since I was probably 18 or 20 years old, whenever I think about what I want, I always come up with the same word first, and that's freedom. Freedom is everything. And you'll find freedom. Work doesn't feel like work when you're in bliss, does it? Serving doesn't feel like serving when you're in bliss. You know, taking care of your body and exercising it out in nature when you're in bliss doesn't feel like work, does it? So you can actually have an entire life of service and joy where none of it feels like work, where it all feels like bliss. Whether you're working and doing it 3 hours a day or 13 hours a day, the bliss and the energy continues to lift you. So I think that was Marilyn, wasn't it? Like just like that liftingness. And think of the lightness and the freedom that comes with that. You know, starting to do these things now in our lives really brings you into a spiritual connection that will last you your entire life. And this is what life's about. It's about that connection, that unity, that love, and finding ways that we can really, really share that. He still has more great ideas. Pay attention to your breath. So he says that many cultures identify breath with spirit, seeing the breath cycle as the movement of spirit in the physical body. Practice keeping your attention on the breath without trying to influence it. That's a way to increase awareness of your non-physical essence. Finally, breath is the link to the basic life energy that circulates through us, what the Chinese call qi and yogis call prana. It connects us to the source of universal energy. Simply minding the breath is a way of expanding our consciousness beyond the ego. It's experiencing transcendence. So he's not necessarily talking about an exercise where you breathe in a certain way, or you breathe in a certain rhythm. He's talking about just noticing your breath and taking joy in your breath. And let's just take a moment and do that now. You know, just if you want to close your eyes so you can really put your energy and your focus on your breath. Just close your eyes and take a nice deep breath, and then just breathe normally and naturally and just pay attention to it. I know we all breathe every day, all day. But there's many of us who maybe don't pay attention to that breath. I would challenge us to pay attention and just see how that changes your mood and your experience of the day. I had an experience, I work in hospice, and sometimes I'm a social worker for hospice, and sometimes situations can be a little bit tense, and sometimes maybe I don't know what to do or what to say, and sometimes the family's really in stress and chaos. And the amazing thing that I have discovered is that by not reacting and like jumping to something to say or immediately feeling like I have to fix something, but by just breathing, just taking, just like that slowing down, like taking 3, 4, 5 breaths, just calming, energizing. It's like everything in the whole room shifts. I don't even need to say or do anything. I just need to be breathing, and the situation becomes calmer. Your breath, bringing spirit into the room with you, is one of the most powerful and wonderful things that you can do in any environment that you work in. You are spirit. You are spirit, you are body, you are mind. You walk through the world with your spirit and keeping in touch with it and having it at your available to for your use at every single moment is the blessing you have. Is there somebody who annoys you? Instead of focusing, I see some laughing faces out there. If there's somebody who annoys you, when you notice at that moment of annoyance, because when somebody annoys you, who's getting hurt by that? You are, not them. That's the problem with annoying people. They're not annoyed that you're annoyed. You're the one who's like suffering and feeling it, aren't you? So it's like, do you really need that or want that? Instead of being annoyed, breathe.
Deep breath.
Breathe. Are you afraid of something? Discouraged by something? Call forth spirit. Our human mind knows a lot. The older we get, especially, through all the experiences that we've had and the things that we've studied. But sometimes mind isn't enough. Sometimes our body isn't enough. But we always can call in spirit. Call in spirit to help us through that moment, to make that moment shine. And, all of us have been in experiences of great pain. I'm thinking about the death of my mom, my brother-in-law, my grandmother, when I was with these people when they passed too. I'm thinking that there was nothing more sacred than breathing. Just breathing. In fact, maybe if we just hung out in nature and enjoyed beautiful flowers inside our house and beautiful music and worked a life of service and breathed, maybe that would be enough. Maybe that's all there is. Maybe that's even more than all the stuff we're doing. So I just encourage you to, let me go over those again real quickly, to make a list of people you love and people you feel uplifted with and hang out with them. Hang out with them. Enjoy nature, enjoy flowers, enjoy music. Breathe. Breathe in times of chaos. Breathe in times of stress. You will find, I bet, that 75% of the anxiety, depression, sadness, despair that you're thinking about will float away. Now, not so much about spirit, but about mind. If you ever find yourself sad, overwhelmed, can't deal with it, researchers have found for the past decade, since the 1970s, that the circumstances in our life are not whatever caused those emotions. What causes those emotions are what we're saying to ourselves, the thoughts we have. So if you can stop the thought and replace it with a focus on your breath, imagine how quickly you can lift yourself from feeling sad to being euphoric, to being at one, to being with God. So have a wonderful, wonderful week. I would like to end with the same reading that Mark did at the beginning. And because it was so powerful, I just got covered with goosebumps. And Mark, do you want to read it again?
I can.
Yeah. So and as you hear it, listen to it now through the ears of spirit. And continue to breathe and be spirit. Be one.
push a book?
Oh, yes.
Just want to ask. I figured as much. Okay, again, the first comes from the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And the second portion comes from the Evolutionary Enlightenment by Andrew Cohen. Everything begins and ends in that primordial emptiness, which is why mystics call it the ground of being. Scientists tells us that when time began 14 billion years ago, something came from nothing. When you awaken to the ground of being, you realize that when something came from nothing, that nothing didn't disappear. That unmanifest, unborn dimension is the ever-present ground out of which everything is still arising in every moment. It is what the Buddha called the deathless, and what others call eternity consciousness. When you awaken to this dimension in your own awareness, you will find yourself always resting in the eternal moment before time began. This is the recognition that liberates. Prior to everything, I already am.
This is really good. And prior to everything, all of us am. All of us am. And may we bring that into our week and into our service and into our love of nature. And be one. Be one with Spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence today and being a part of the Satya Center. You're invited to join Reverend Allie and Reverend Lyle each Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for your dose of connection, inspiration, and co-creation. The Satya Center is located at 795 24th Street, Ogden, Utah. For directions, a map, and our service times, please see our website, thesatyacenter.org. This program was brought to you by the kind donations from the members of the Satya Center. Thank you.